Peace family, 19 Keys tapping in with you. Now I know what you're about to think. There's no way 19 Keys is about to double down and say safe spaces are for the weak. I know you're probably waiting for me to admit that things are clickbait. And I was just saying that to get views, or as other people call them, rage baiting. All of these terms that y'all just throw out there to me don't really mean anything. But no, I actually stand on everything that I said, and I believe in everything that I said. See, I listened and I read a lot of comments, right? People that I respect, people that I'm sure do their profession very well, especially the therapists that I'm sure are helping out lots of people in meaningful ways, especially people that have real problems. I'm not talking about everyday occurrences of emotional fluctuations. Those are not the people that need therapists, right? But this is what I want to get to. Safe spaces are for the weak. Inherently, it's when you have a weakness, right? Now, high-level conversations is not a safe space. It was never meant or intended to be, right? In fact, throughout my whole life, I never knew what a safe space was. Not until I got on social media and I heard people talk about these things, right? But growing up, I never heard the term because we was always taught to have courage, to speak truth, to not be afraid of judgment and things of that nature, right? But also understand the idea of a safe space in itself and why therapists create such an environment that allow you to be vulnerable, which is a true strength. But the reason that high-level conversations is not a safe space because it's a brave space. It's a space where we agree to come together, have challenging conversations respectfully, but bravely. See, when you speak truth to power, that's being brave. That's not being safe. Social media is not a safe space, right? Anybody in the world can take your comments and your ideas and they can skew them, right? And then they can write lifelong paragraphs and send it to people, and then they can throw hate your way. So nothing about it is safe. If I share my ideas, you're going to say it's not safe for me to share them, that they dangerous and they disappointment and you have a problem with them. So you don't believe in the idea of safe space either, because obviously you're not making that particular space. So I don't need you to, though, because I'm brave enough to do it regardless. See, we try to do too much protecting and not enough preparing, right? The countries that actually get mental health right, it's because they have preventative measures. America most likely spends more than all of the countries, both on research and on programs, but they do not get the same results per capita as other countries, right? That's because we spend too much on trying to diagnose and over-medicate people, and too much of the U.S. Western mind practices are based on individual perspective, the individual's awareness, and not about social cohesion and interaction and integrating with the whole and have a harmony in family. Matter of fact, we barely even talk about family in this whole dynamic of therapy conversation. So I've been really sitting down and saying, what do I really believe? And I've been doing a lot of research. And I don't believe in therapy, singular. I believe in therapies. So when somebody say you need to go to therapy, that's bullshit. What you mean I need to go to therapy? Which therapy? Can you explain which one and how it's going to help me? And why do I need the one? No. So therapy is courtish because you just throw a word out there as if the word is the medicine. To go have talk therapy, right? Maybe it's logotherapy, cognitive behavior therapy. There's so many different kinds, types, fathers of psychology to suggest. But then this is also Western practice. Who's to say that this works for me at all? There's Eastern practice. There's the way Africans do it. There's so many different forms and types. And so I don't believe in therapy. I believe in therapies. A bit of semantics, but words matter. In the plural form, it speaks to more of a holistic reality, right? Dancing could be a form of therapy. Art could be a form of therapy, right? Community participation and harmony in your community and having a place in your community is a form of therapy, Working out and training is a form of therapy. Speaking your mind bravely is an ultimate form of therapy, right? There's so many different things. And in order for me to keep my mental hygiene and my spiritual hygiene right high, I have to practice multiple forms of therapy. Matter of fact, I'm well overdue for a hike and some time in nature. Right now. So the overemphasis on practitioners, right, and therapists, of course it makes sense because your life depends on it. And people really do need the help. But the reality of it is that we should be focusing on people who are of higher risk versus this new TikTok generation that are over and self-diagnosing themselves with this plague of issues when it's really just life's regular ups and downs and emotions. And we're overutilizing terms and not what they were intended for. And so the extreme is not even being talked about. I have family members with schizophrenia, bipolarism, and I know many black men who suffer from these conditions and issues. But in a mental health conversation, we're not even talking about those type of mental illnesses. We're talking about daily stresses, so-called traumas that you went through. We're not even really addressing the extremes, right, that are happening in society, that people that really need the help. And it's trivializing mental health, right, for the average everyday person. And this is why, in the reality, it should be spoken upon in schools so that it's preventative maintenance, right? It becomes destigmatized when young children have an idea of mental awareness and mindful practices. So they understand the mental hygiene, but in high school, we don't learn these things. I did. I learned, you understand me, practices growing up in the FOI, how to increase mental capacity and specifically mental awareness. And there was a great emphasis on self-awareness. But you know, there are scientific studies that have been done that when you have higher self-awareness, you can't be gaslit. And then it showed that gaslighting, the term itself, has now been trivialized and overused in common everyday things that it doesn't even fit the criteria for. So yes, I believe in therapies in all forms, right? I believe in the talk therapy. I believe in the walk therapy. You can go take a walk for 10 minutes and decrease your cortisol levels, decrease your stress levels, right? There's so many different things that we can do. And in order for you to be healthy, it's not one thing. There's multiple. So we have to expand the conversation. And there's some of you all that are doing it, but you are not the loudest voices. I'm speaking to the overall community because people are being overdiagnosed and they've turned it into capitalism has gotten a hold of the mental health paradigm. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry and growing and growing and growing. So what happens in America when we're putting billions of dollars to it? We don't actually solve problems. We grow them. Homelessness grows the more money you throw at it. How? Because this creates an industry that is dependent on the problem itself. Right? When the pharmaceutical companies are funding the studies of mental health awareness, right? And they're the ones also prescribing the medicines and over-medicating, and the numbers are going up. There's a problem to be attacked. Now, there's a deeper side of it as well, is that those who have the greatest mental health issues in America are black men. But then we don't have, and I had a great conversation with a black therapist today, Brother Tahe, and He's an outlier. Not many think like him. He understands the perspective, and he comes from a masculine perspective as well. So there's white psychology and black psychology. Most people don't even know that. So the reality of it is that as a black man, I would need somebody who understands my mind, my culture, my psyche, right? Speak to my values, my ethics, my experiences, right? In the language, and also speak from a spiritual standpoint as well. I think we need to do away with all of these overdiagnoses because they become entities that become attached to people that they now have to fight, or they become identities that people add to their ID in life. So yes, everything I said, I believe the question should have been asked is, what do you actually mean by that? Can you expand? Otherwise, you're being hypocritical to the things that you say you believe in. Because if I can't safely share my ideas that are against yours, then why should I believe in yours that are against mine? Think about that for a second. High-level conversations is never supposed to make you comfortable. It's always supposed to challenge you, because we live in a world where most people are not thinking. You're not studying who came up with these terms. You're not looking at, studies that go against the norm. We're not studying the capitalism and the money that's in it and the father of psychologies that these come from. And I promise you, they was not made for us, by us. So the practitioners that practice holistic methods, I respect you. Then there's occupational therapists, the ones that need you to be sick. And they have patients for years and years, and they're not letting go of them. Those are the ones to be shunned. Then there's ranges and degrees of professionalism as far as the different practitioners out there. Just because you're a therapist don't mean you're good at your job. And so if I've seen more practitioners opening up brave spaces and challenging the norms, I would respect it more. I would. And there's some of you that I see doing that, and I want you to have a conversation with me. I offer you a brave space on high-level conversations. All right? So we can expand this conversation and expand the mental capacity, and more important, the resilience of our people, because it is very, very, very important during this day and age. Oh, if you really think about the reality of what's going on in America, I don't think you're ready for the dark ages that are about to come upon us. So no, we should be focusing on brave spaces and resilience right now, and increasing our capacity and our adaptability during this age. Otherwise, we won't last looking for safety in a world that's becoming more dangerous. Make sure you actually watch the episode. Leave your comments, challenge ideas, suggest people that I should have on there. Because that's my job in the culture, is to stretch us. So yes, a lot of us are suffering. A lot of us need therapies. Peace, family.